Hello Linux lovers, my name's Wimpy, welcome to my world. Hello, welcome back everyone, how are you all doing? So welcome back Takov, and Paul, I think that's Paul's usually in there very quickly with those. Hello, welcome back, how are you all doing this morning? So, yesterday I introduced the idea of this stream fail rating. This is going to become a feature of the streams. I think it'll become more relevant when we get to the unable to complete streams due to incompetency at some point in the future. But what we're going to look at is today's rating is going to be a 1. I've come up with this moon rating. I'll figure out animations and things for this, and at some point how people can vote on whether or not the stream worked or not. Today it's a 1 moon rating, which means that there is an outside chance things may not work correctly. I'm only doing that because yesterday I had an unexpected power cut partway through the stream, and we've still got this spectre of unreliable internet. So we'll see how we go. Nothing should go wrong, but there's the potential that it may. So we'll hedge our bets. So at the end you can let me know whether or not this is a stream fail or not. Anyway, what we're going to be doing today is I'm running elementary OS on this workstation and the main workstation at home, and I want to get those moved over to NixOS. And what's holding me up doing that is I don't have a replete OBS Studio with all of the plugins that I need on NixOS. So I'm going to take on the task of packaging up the additional plugins and things that I need. And I've created a project to manage that, and Takov, who's here with us this morning, suggested that I create a Kanban style project to track that activity and invite people to participate. Good morning, Lucy, how are you doing today? Had to leave the stream early. Yeah, you were travelling around. You're over in you're in Basildon now. You're still there. Oh, you're going to London. Sure. Oh, I see. You're in Basildon going to wherever. You can't play the drop game now. Takov, I see you trying. Yeah, no, the drop game. I'm thinking about adding like a channel point redemption for people to request the drop game like mid-stream. Something spendy in the channel points, I think. So welcome back. So let's take a look at this. Let's see what we've got. Oh, I've gone out of focus there momentarily. Hello, camera. I'm over here. Stop focusing on the stormtrooper behind me. So let's look at the project I'm going to use to track this, which I have called OBS Studio Flaking Loaded, because this will be implemented in 2 different ways, which we're about to look at. One, we'll have a flake here of OBS Studio plus all of the things. I'll explain why I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to do 2 things. Eventually, this will be a flake of OBS Studio and everything that I need, but we're also going to send everything to the upstream Nix packages. And the reason why I'm going to do both is because the way that package maintainership works in Nix packages is a little different from how it would work in, say, something like Debian and Ubuntu. So whilst I can submit the initial seeding of a package and I'm essentially the maintainer, the rest of the community can come in and make changes to those packages in Nix packages, and I have some opinions about how some of those plugins should be built and configured. So whilst I'm going to send everything I do up to Nix packages first, I'm then going to maintain a flake, which is kind of like my stable OBS distribution for NixOS, very much configured the way I need it, so that I can guarantee that what I have is always got expected outcomes. And it's also an opportunity to learn how to maintain a bundle of software as a flake, something that I've not done yet. So at some point in the future I'll be getting into that and I'll be learning that process. So here's the project that I've created for this based on Takov's feedback. I'm going to need to sign in, so let's just go and drag this off screen here. I'm just going to sign in to my GitHub account. Off screen, because I'm going to need to be able to do all of these things. So I'm just doing 2FA and all of that. Carry on. There we go. Confirm. Confirm all of those things. There we go. That's better. It's gone into dark mode as well. That's what we want. Right, let's get rid of you, and let's just arrange you neatly on the screen here. So today is going to be a tour through a lot of OBS Studio plugins. Let's have a look here. Good. I'm glad you had a good day yesterday. Yes, Paul, as always, well equipped with a good cup of tea. So welcome. Gosh, I've been starting my days with a cup of coffee, but I don't know why, because until I've had a cup of tea, it doesn't feel right. So this is what I've got. It's a very simple Kanban. We're going to put in a collection of stuff here in the must-have column, and this is basically going to be the plugins that I absolutely positively have to get packaged up in order that I can install NixOS and stream from NixOS. And then we're going to have a nice to have column, which is going to be all of the other plugins that generally I've included in the OBS Studio Snap in the past, and things like OBS Studio Fully Loaded, and now what I'm using right now is my OBS Studio portable builds. And these are plugins that I may or may not use myself, but I recognize are very popular within the OBS community and are good things to have available. So it will help me prioritize my work to get me to the point where I can install NixOS quicker on those places. And I've put a couple of examples in here. Obviously, we need OBS Studio itself, because the flake is going to be OBS Studio plus a bunch of stuff. And I think we'll expose like 2 installation points, one which is just OBS Studio and one which is OBS Studio dash flaking loaded, which is then all of the plugins. And then of course you can compose your own by taking the studio and then just the plugins that you want. So I've put in 2 examples here, the move transition plugin, and what we're going to use to inform populating this is the plugins that I currently have integrated in OBS Studio Portable for Ubuntu. So RJ is asking, what is a flake? Okay, so flakes there's still a feature that's tucked behind an experimental feature flag of Nix, the package manager language and configuration management tool. But it's very much the future of Nix. And at work, where I work now, alongside Elko, the creator of Nix, we see flakes as very much the future of Nix. So we have an installer for Nix which enables flake support. Flakes themselves are a way to define a well-bounded application or software or bundle of software, and they're very easy to integrate and pull into your NixOS configurations or your home manager configurations for that matter. So it's a nice way to maintain things together, and but make them composable and reusable. So flakes basically have 2 core constituent parts: the inputs, which you can consider the dependencies, and the outputs, which you consider, they're actually called derivations in Nix speak, but you can think of as the packages or the configuration for those bits of software or modules to configure them. So flakes are standalone ways to express software. So you could think of them as like Rust crates or Go modules, but they're language independent. So that's probably a better description of what a flake is, like a Go module or a Rust crate, but language independent. Hey Tommy, how am I doing? Was that a reasonable explanation of flakes? Flakes are amazing, yeah. Yeah, they're still kind of annoying to you. Why is that then? You use Flake Compact. Okay, I've decided, because I'm new at this, I'm only going to learn the future. So I've just dove in. I'm only learning a Flake approach to everything. So yeah, I've just decided to keep my brain uncluttered of the past. Right then, let's take a look then. So if I flip over to my code editor, I think here I'm in the OBS Studio portable project here. And if I bring up my plugins for OBS 29, that's probably a good place to start. So I've got two, and I've recently refactored the way that this builds plugins for Ubuntu, because it's helped me identify common builder patterns to ease the way that I can introduce these new packages into OBS. So generally speaking, in the past I had everything as an in-tree module, and I've now got that down to a single in-tree module. And what this means, in OBS you can build plugins by putting the plugin source over the top of the OBS Studio source code and building the plugin when you compile OBS Studio itself. It makes it very easy to build things that way. But the out-of-tree mechanism is where you compile just the plugin itself, so long as it has sight of the OBS Studio headers and libraries, so that it can compile and link. And the advantage of moving everything to this out-of-tree mechanism is now I have a reference of how to build just the plugins, which will make it easier to transpose those over to packages to build as discrete plugins in nixpkgs. So as you can see, most of them I've now got over as out-of-tree, but this one, Scale to Sound, is indeed one of the plugins that is a requirement for me. So what we're going to do is we'll copy that and we'll drop that in here in the must have. I need to change the sensitivity on my thing there. So this was Scale to Sound, and we'll put in here a link to where it is. Hello, edit. I've not used this tool, by the way. So last night I literally created the board and convert to an issue. Yeah, so we'll get to doing that. So at least I've got a reference where to get this from now. So you get the idea. This is going to be sort of the approach I'm taking, and move transition's already in here. So actually let's go and find that move transition link. Move transition is probably the single most important OBS plugin. If you're only ever going to use OBS Studio with one plugin, this is probably it. In fact, I can't imagine using OBS without this plugin. It does so much. Not apart from making things look nice. Why can't I edit that? Do I have to click? Why can't I? Oh, there we go. I have to click on the thing. There's a little bit click in lots of places, but there we go. There's that. So I'm just going to fill out these columns to start with, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go and have a look in nixpkgs, because some of these are indeed in nixpkgs, and we'll shuffle the board around, and then I can prioritize my must-have column, and I can start thinking about how I'm going to tackle that. So I'm just going to get everything lined up today, and then in subsequent streams I think what we'll be doing is actually packaging up some of these modules and sending pull requests up to nixpkgs, which will be, I've done it once. I've done a kernel module fix, so I've gone through the process of contributing to nixpkgs one time, so I can't say I know the ropes, but I have at least done it once, so we'll get more practiced at that. And that's a bit like learning the mechanisms for like contributing packaging to, say, Arch or Debian or Ubuntu. You sort of have to learn the processes and mechanisms by which you contribute to things. So this serves as my introduction to learning how to do that stuff. Good morning, King Egypt. How the devil are you? Right then. I had the good fortune of meeting King Egypt in at the conference in London recently. So now we're going to move over to the Outfitry plugins. This is where everything is. So this is a very cool plugin. It's quite new. It's from the same developers behind Atom, as you can see from the URL. This is something I'm going to start using for sure, but I don't need right now. And it's called Vertical Canvas. And what this enables you to do is have a duplicate set of scenes in vertical orientation that are bound to your traditional scenes. So you can automatically record or stream in vertical format to the places where vertical format works. So whilst you're doing your streams, if anything happens that's interesting, you'll have a already ready to go. Why is this so awkward to do? Edit, vertical canvas. You'll automatically have a vertical orientation video recording or whatever that you can send to, you know, TikTok and what is it, YouTube Shorts, and, well, I was going to say Instagram. Instagram is increasingly becoming unusable for me. It's just a deluge of adverts and promoted content, none of which I'm interested in. Right, so that's a cool plugin. This is brand new. This plugin came out yesterday, and in fact I've been following Andy for a while, and I'm hoping at some point in the near future he'll be streaming here as I'm finishing, so I can drop over. So I've not started using this yet, but I think it's pretty cool stuff. Oh, in fact, it's seen as transition. So this is his first plugin, although he's been doing all sorts of other stuff around the OBS community for a while. But it enables you to create a transition and use it as create a scene or scenes and use them as transitions, which is really nice because it means you can entirely compose scene transitions using OBS, not having to pull in videos and browser sources. So I think that's one I'm definitely going to take advantage of in the future. Soundboard, I don't use this currently. These are organized sort of alphabetically by author, if you're wondering why they're in an order that I'm not actually using. So we'll add this here. I imagine some people find this useful. I do know a couple of people that are using this one. Right, let's see if we can speed up the data entry here. I don't like having to click edit there. Why can't I not just click on the description and start typing? I'm having to click close. This is all a bit cumbersome. But anyway, maybe I'll use Trello in the future. Right, vintage filter I am using. This was one I used to use ages ago, stopped using, and then found a need for the other day. So this is going in my must-have column. I basically use this. If you've seen that opening screen, which is like my overhead camera but all washed out, I was doing that via quite a complex process, and I'm now using this vintage filter just to do a black and white filter of the overhead camera. That then makes it much easier to hello Pyrus, how you doing? So King Egypt was wearing their conference hat. Okay, oh, I see. Yes, we got rather fetching sun hats at, what was it, State of Open. So that was in London, State of Open conference. It was their inaugural conference. It's organized by Amanda Brock. And that was in London at the beginning of February, I think, and it was very good. I will definitely be returning to that event in the future. Hello, Tommy, you having fun? I found some really nice shaders to improve some of these as well. I will be introducing. So, Pipewire audio capture, this is essential. I am using this, although I suspect it may have bugs because I've noticed some audio glitches, and I think it's down to this, but I'm not sure. Pipewire audio capture, but it's the only way I can easily separate out the audio tracks. Huh, I didn't reorganize that just then. Why did it suddenly decide it wanted those things in a different order? Right, there we go. So Tommy says, by the way, if you want to give me some feedback on my Vert Manager config, I'd appreciate it. What Vert Manager config is this? So Tommy's just dropped this in the chat here. If you want to give me some feedback on my Vert Manager, okay. I think, Tommy, you'll be able to paste the full URL, and if it doesn't let it through, I will make it happen, because there's no reason why other people can't take a look at that in a more convenient format. Right. So, next one is... oh, 3D effect. Now, I am using this. This is actually derived from part of StreamFX. Oh, it didn't let it through. Okay, Tommy. Sorry about that. Give me a moment. I'll do something about that. Or at least I'll get your link pushed through. Where am I going? So this I am using in one place. And what I've noticed is some of the features of StreamFX has been put behind a paywall for Windows and Mac OS users. If you're on Linux, you can still build it from source, which is what I do. But its development sort of slowed and stagnated a little bit. So some people have started to pull its pieces into discrete plugins, which is quite helpful because they can sort of move at their own pace then. So I'm using this to do some skewing of logos and icons and things. Right, that's what I'm using for sure. Right, let's go and take a look at Tommy's thing here. So let's go up here. No, oh gosh. Let's go here. Just bear with me. So I wonder what this is. I'm just putting this in pastebin.com here for Tommy. We'll do that. Make sure it loads. Yeah, that looks like it's loading, and then I will paste the full URL in over here. That's the link to Tommy's thing if you want to go and visit that. Right then, hey RJ, how you doing? So you're dipping your toes into Nix, okay? I'm just going to bring up your comment so it's easier for everyone to see. So Tommy says, so I'm dipping my toes into Nix. I have a Lua NeoVim config. Is it okay to use that, or is the preferred way to migrate it to Nix config of its own? Where I don't know if this is what I'm about to say is not a definitive answer. This is what I am doing. Where there is a way to express configuration using Nix modules and what have you, that's what I'm doing, because it makes it really easy to configure things quickly and in quite a readable fashion. And of course there are some places where that's not an option and you can just drop the requisite files in. So I'm going to go in that. At some point I'm going to do a stream which is like a tour of my Nix config, which will cover my NixOS configuration and my home manager configuration, and you'll see in the home manager configuration like just how easy it is to create quite sophisticated configurations without having to resort to doing a lot of complex stuff yourself. My fish shell configuration is now infinitely better than it's ever been, and I haven't had to dig into the complexities of wrangling all of fish shell's initialization functions There are just simple flags to turn on capabilities, and it injects the right code in the right places. It's pretty great. Okay, and Pyrus has got their 2009 MacBook Pro, and you've put MX Linux on it. Good for you. So, Takov has a question here. Takov says, I have a question. Good. Would you consider giving access to the Kanban for other community members? Yes, absolutely. I've got no objection to that. I thought I'd do the initial seeding, but having never used this feature before, I'll just switch over to it a second. Oh, that one. I can see that for each of these, let's just move that off the screen. I can see for each of these, once I've got one, I can go in here and I can say convert to an issue. So I thought that might be like the mechanism to expose these for like community action, but maybe you got a better idea about that. Oh, okay. So so you want to be able to fill some in on the you want to add some, is that what you're saying? Because I did look through this yesterday very quickly. You'd love to participate, absolutely. Okay, so is what I've just described about me turning these into issues an appropriate response, an appropriate way for you to get involved? Is that? Just let me know about that. I'll I'll find the next one on the list here. So 3D effect. Okay, device switcher. I don't think I'm using this. So I'm going to put this in the nice to have. Edit again. Okay. So let's just see here. So yeah, so yes, Takov, what we'll do is we'll go and check across all of this. So you've identified that some of these things are indeed available in Nix packages already. Yeah. And we'll shuffle them along. So let's have a look. How do we give you access to that? Is it in settings here? Visibility, close, delete, manage access. Okay, here we go. This project is public. Okay, that's correct. You're not a member of any of the things that it will find. Search by username. Here we go. I'm pretty sure you're Takov something or other in... No. Can I... Oh, no, that's not what I want either. Okay. So under manage access somewhere, I'll have to do this. Yeah, you're not unorganized. Okay, after I'll figure this out afterwards, and I'll give you access, and you can come and join him. I will continue fleshing out this initial pass. So, directory watch media. I can't remember if I'm using that or not. I might be. I used to. I think for the sake of I'll put it in the must-have for the time being. We'll put a question mark on it, and I'll figure out whether or not I'm using that. In fact, we could probably go and do that. Let's go and do a quick grep and see if we can find watch media in my configuration anywhere. So let's head over to here. Let's go to OBS Portable. No. Not there at all, actually. Let's go to Studio, Wimpy's World, OBS. portable stable config. This is where my OBS is currently running from. And let's search for watch media. Oh, okay. I want to search in basic, not profiles, scenes. No, I don't appear to be using that in any of my scenes. So let's do that again, and let's just change this to Xeldro, because that's the author name, so he doesn't prefix this with any names. So let's do move. Well, that's a bit too generic. Transition. Yeah, there we go. OBS Stinger transition. So I think watch would have found something. So there's nothing watch related. So I don't think I'm using that one. So actually we'll go and shuffle that one around accordingly. We'll put this one over here. Change that. There we go. And Hackov also says, by any chance, let's have a look. By any chance, will yesterday's and today's streams be available on YouTube as well as Twitch? Yes. Yesterday's stream I've already uploaded to YouTube, and it's scheduled to publish at, I think, 5 PM this evening. So as per Twitch's terms of service, I offset my YouTube archive versions of the streams by usually by sort of 24 hours plus 8 hours, just to be on the safe side. Oh, and that wasn't Takov, that was Pirates asking that question. There you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Yes. What I'm actually doing, borderline. Let's just say I'm in the spirit of the Twitch terms of service. I use live push, and what I'm doing is actually streaming to Twitch and to YouTube to an unlisted stream. Obviously, yesterday's got busted because of the power cut. So I had to edit together something and upload it to YouTube separately. But the reason I do this now is that I stream to both platforms at the same time, and then when I finish streaming, I have the video on YouTube as a live stream that nobody saw, because you're not allowed to multi-stream. And then I can just top and tail it in the YouTube editor, and it makes that whole, you know, post-processing pipeline just a bit more efficient. Which is how I prefer to do things, but I had to edit video like a barbarian yesterday as a result of the power cut. So yeah. Right then. Let's find the next one. What have we got here? Downstream Keyer I don't use, but I know this is very popular with a number of people. So you can see here most of these plugins are from a developer called Xeldro. They have really established themselves as sort of the premier OBS plugin creator. And I think this one's cool, but I just haven't found a need for it myself yet. I'm not doing anything that warrants it. I mean, I probably need to sit down and go through like my stream configuration and have a little think about where I could take advantage of some of these things. So that's that one. And dynamic delay I'm not using, but I could think of ways that would be useful. Generally speaking, the ones that I've included are things that I can see the value for. And I've got available in my sort of OBS build, so that it, should I think of something I want, something clever I want to create, I've got all of the tools baked in there ready to use. I wonder if this is my Wi-Fi that's causing this weird audio I'm hearing at the moment. It could be. Okay, let's look what's next. Freeze filter again, another interesting one. I want to actually use this one. I've got something I want to do with it, but I haven't implemented it yet. I'll explain what I'm thinking of doing. I'm thinking of doing something like Polaroid camera effect, where you can use channel points and it will take my current camera, turn it into a Polaroid image, and then stick that in the Discord. It's what I want to use this for, because I thought that would be a bit of fun to put together. So it should be able to integrate all of that together with cruise control, which would be kind of fun. Right then, what's next? Now gradient source I use all over the place. It's such a simple plugin, but extremely useful. So you can see the background that I have, this colourful background, that is done with gradient source. Very simple but very helpful. And I actually make my thumbnails so that you'll see the thumbnails I put on the videos after I've streamed on Twitch, and what I use for the thumbnails on YouTube. They've got these colourful, you know, colorways and what have you, and that's all done with gradient source with a bit of opacity and sort of starburst images behind them. So you can, I build all my thumbnails in OBS Studio because it's just super simple from that. Which one was this? This was media controls. I don't require this one. I think I've got it enabled, but it isn't essential to my workflow. So we'll put that in nice to have. I don't like having to keep clicking edit. That is cumbersome. Right then, next one. Move transition we've already got in there. That is definitely essential. Recursion effect I'm not currently using. When I'm actually thinking to myself, there's something I could do here, which is sort of make a alternative local build of OBS Studio Portable, which excludes the ones that I'm not actually using, in order to, one, speed up my build time and also reduce the overhead of the OBS build that I run. Right then, replay source I am not currently using, but it would be useful for that Polaroid idea, because the other idea I had is that you could do something like moving pictures type Polaroid thing by taking a few seconds of the video. So instead of a still, actually have a little video integrated into the Polaroid frame.
Thank you for the follow, Greshek.
Hello, Greshek. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for stopping by. So, oh, hang on. I've just realised I made a blunder. I made a blunder up here. I didn't set my didn't set the stream title, did I? Planning OBS Studio, Flaking, loaded NixOS. So I'm just update the stream title now. It's a little bit late, but there we go. Let's do that. Oopsie. There we go. That will probably help make a bit more sense. I need to automate that. That's the problem. Right, okay. Replay source, that's done. That's in the list. What have we got now? Scene collection manager. Not one I'm using, but or not one I depend on. I am actually using it, but it's not on the critical path. And this isn't an effect, it's just an addition to OBS and how you can organize your scene collections. So get that one in. Now all of these ones from Exeldro, There's only one of his plugins that doesn't conform to this. He's reworked his build configuration, and they all build in exactly the same way. And Takov has already identified that the Move Transition plugin is already in nixpkgs. So I think for all of Exeldro's plugins, it should be possible to take the Move Transition plugin, change the names and the Git references and the SHA sums for the tarball contents and what have you, and they should be a cookie cutter exercise. So they should be very quick to bang out all of Exeldro's plugins. And this again, scene notes doc. I don't use this. I did used to, and it was useful for a while when I was keeping notes within OBS of like bugs I needed to fix in certain parts of the system. My OBS configuration, that is. But I don't use it anymore. The reason being, it was actually causing OBS Studio to crash. But somebody fixed that a few weeks ago, which is why I reintroduced it into the build, because it's stable again. Right, shader filter. I'm going to put this in the... I'm going to put it in the must-have, because I know I want to use it. I'm not currently using it. I do have some things, some prototype effects using this. So we'll stick it in here because I know that it's definitely going to get used. And Exeldro's done a great job here. There were, over the years, several different implementations of shader filter stuff. And he pulled them all together and fixed them up and bundled a whole load of shaders with this, and it's terrific. So if you know shader language, you can create visual effects in OBS Studio, which is pretty neat. Right, source clone. I am using this a lot. So this is another example of one that was there was source mirror in oh, I'm putting that in the wrong place entirely, aren't I? There was source mirror from StreamFX, and this is effectively a fork of that capability from StreamFX as a standalone plugin. And it took a long time because I use this everywhere. This is a very powerful tool. There are some drawbacks with OBS Studio where if you create a scene and you include that scene in other scenes and you want to apply filters, those filters are applied to the parent scene, which means it's difficult to reuse scenes and apply different effects and what have you to them. And source clone works around that. You can say clone this scene here, and now I can apply discrete filters to the clone. So that's what makes it possible to do things like if I, whoops, hello, welcome back. If I do this, you should see that the haha plays over the top of my video, and that is all made possible using source cloning. So source cloning is managing my camera embedded in different scenes in different ways and has the ability to embed the different effects and what have you. Hello TCAS, how you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, I remember those days. Those days are gone now. My daughter was still fast asleep when I left the house this morning. She's a teenager now. So yeah, that's it does change. If you're looking for some reassurance that it won't always be that way. I was talking to a colleague about kids waking up at the crack of dawn. They do grow out of it, or at least in my experience of nieces and daughters, they do. Right, source copy. I don't think I'm using this. It's actually quite... I have it available to me. It's in the UI, but I don't think I use it. So I'll add it here. I feel like that. Go in there. There we go. There we go. And close that one down. And here we go. Yeah, there's a bunch more here. And source doc. This is quite useful actually. I don't use it currently. But what you can do is you can embed any browser source as a dockable item in OBS with this one. And I'm not currently using it. So I'll put that in the nice to have column. So, Sludum says, for me, it's unable to stay asleep, but at least I can stay here for a bit. Yes, yeah. And, hey, Padger, how you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, I've so Paul says they don't have kids, but as they get older, they waking up earlier. It's definitely a thing. I'm going through something like that. I've always been a bit of a late riser, but recently I've been waking up earlier. So yeah, that's a thing. Right, source record now. This is a very useful tool, and it's not one I use all of the time, but it's one I definitely want available. And the reason I found this useful is when I've recorded talks and things where you're a virtual presenter at a conference and they want a video of your stuff, you often need to produce different recordings of like your slides and your talking head and all the rest of it. And source record does exactly what it says it does. You can have multiple sources in your OBS Studio configuration, and then through the filter you can say record this source to this file and record this source to this file, and at the end of it you have multiple recordings that are all synchronized and lined up that you can then send to the event organizers. So whilst this isn't something I use all the time, I consider it an essential feature. I know Popey did something similar recently and ended up hand coding it all in FFmpeg. Source switcher. I think I'm using that. Let's do what we did last time. Let's just drop over here. Switcher. I think what I'm going to have to do is JQ that and create a sorted one. RG switcher in a clean version of, there we go. Or see, yeah, here it is. So I am using the source switcher. So there we go. That's good. I think you've probably seen, in fact, it's on this screen here. When I'm here and that lower third, I think that will rotate round in a minute. That, I think I'm using the source switcher to rotate in those links and things. I think that's where I'm using that. So this is source switcher. Oh, this is a quite chilled out stream today. I've said that now. It's probably all going to, power will go off or the internet will go down or something. Right, there's that one. Time warp scan I definitely know I'm not using, but it's kind of a fun effect. So we'll get that in the nice to have column. This is actually really helpful. Time warp scan. This is also going to help in actually doing this quickly, because just knowing which plugins are on the critical path is going to be extremely useful. Right then, transition table. Now this is essential, absolutely essential. This is a key automation tool. So I'll explain what this is in just a moment. Transition. Table. So if you're doing OBS stuff and you've not used transition table, you want this in your life. It's terrific. So you can have different transitions between scenes. Like the built-in ones in OBS are just fade and cut, for example. Now, when I transition between scenes, you'll see it does all of this, you know, what's the word? Easing functions. And as I move between different scenes, so for example, if I was to bring in the overhead one, you can see it moves in differently. That's a different transition. And what transition table is what it sounds like. It brings up a table and it says, when you go from this scene to this scene, use this transition. And it's just a really quick way to configure all of the ways you want the transitions to flow. So absolutely essential. Right, so I see Takov is giving me some advice here, so let's have a little look. So later on, issues can be reopened if the plugin became outdated. So once that, my idea for this Kanban board is to just project manage, light touch project manage, the initial seeding of all of these plugins into nixpkgs and the flake. And then I think once everything is in the completed stage, as it has been introduced into both of those places, that project will get closed. And then through the regular issue and pull request process, that will then get managed in the future without needing an actual project management tool, because then it's just in sustaining at that point. Because what I'm thinking is that I want to maintain, once they're all aligned, I want to maintain things in flaking loaded, and each time I get a plugin to a stable place, I know that it's ABI compatible and all of that stuff. Then as I update that plugin in flaking loaded, I can then send a pull request to nixpkgs with the equivalent update. Or somebody else, you know, in the Nix community does it. You know, it doesn't have to be me, of course. Right, so that one's essential. This one is also essential. OBS GStreamer. There's a bunch of effects in here that I want to use. A bit like the shader filter, it's got a bunch of cool effects. And I'm thinking I may use it for some audio processing stuff as well, in addition to the built-in audio plugins. So and it's also got encoder support as well over VA API. So I'm definitely going to be using that one. Good morning, Mandy. How are you? No, I'm just having a bit of a chilled out stream, just getting my planning organized for another round of OBS wrangling. Right, OBS teleport. Now, many of you may have heard of NDI, and that there is indeed a NDI plugin. In fact, I'm not using it. Yes, I hear the alarm going. Yeah, that was the test alarm. That would have been an interesting way for the stream to fail if we'd have had a fire alarm. That would have been new and interesting. So this is teleport. I really like this. This is NDI-like functionality. So a way to connect OBS instances and sources and scenes within OBS instances and pull them around remotely. I much prefer it to NDI. It is open source, and that's not the main reason why I prefer it, but it is one of the qualities about it that make it good. It's easy to build, easy to work with, lower latency, lower bandwidth, more reliable, doesn't have audio video desync issues. So, and maintaining and building the NDI thing is a total nightmare. I was discussing this with Nixonator, one of the people in the Discord community who had a stab at maintaining the NDI plugin in the past. Oh, so you're really busy with work and meetings at the moment. I will be really busy with that after this stream, but for now, it's okay. So I'm not using teleport, but it is something that I will be using, but it's not on the critical path. OBS VA API is VA API encoding, and I'm not currently using it, but I intend to use it because I'm going to switch to using it over Stream Effects. So this is going to become essential. And also, I mentioned briefly yesterday, I have an Intel Arc A770 GPU, and the only reason I've got that is to play around with AV1 encoding. Literally the only thing I'm interested in tinkering with that with. So yeah. Oh, Mandy, that sounds interesting. What have you got going on here? So I proposed a talk for our yearly internal conference about Nix. I'm far from an expert. Join the club. I'm still learning. Some of these projects will help get me to a better level of competency. And you go and say, but at least I can give a proper introduction and point to good resources, including determinate systems. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind. If you've got people on macOS at your workplace, our determinate installer is, in my humble opinion, the best way to get Nix on macOS. And Luke Perkins, who works at Determinate, runs macOS only and has got loads of great blogs and tutorials on really using Nix to sort of pro level on macOS, like completely replacing the need for things like Homebrew. So have a look at the Determinate blog. He's got loads of good stuff. Yes, so some of Luke's articles are on the Determinate blog. The Determinate installer is on our GitHub page. Let's just go and bring up some of this stuff as we're here. So we posted it everywhere. So here is the GitHub project and here is the blog post. So this is the Determinate Nix installer project, and this is getting at, like, working on this loads, or Anna and Cole, colleagues of mine, are working on this a lot. And this is the blog post about it. And if you haven't seen it, we also have a site called 0to-nix.com. And this is a good way to get orientated with sort of concepts of Nix very quickly. And this guide uses our Nix installer, and it will work on just about any Linux and macOS and WSL. So for people that want to dive in and sort of do a few short tutorials, each one takes 5 minutes or so, and there's sort of about 10 of them. There's some language ecosystem ones in here. This will take you from I know nothing to I at least understand the core principles. So there's a great place to start there. Right then, what was I just doing with VA API code? You're welcome, Mandy. I hope that's useful. Okay, RTSP server I know people that use this and actually depend on it, but it isn't on my critical path. And the people that depend on it are using Ubuntu. So this isn't something I need to hyper focus on, but I know there's a group of streamers where this is an essential capability, but they're quite happily doing the Ubuntu thing, so, and they won't be coming over to Nix. OBS MIDI plugin is very good. Not something that I'm using, but something that I'm thinking of using in a weird way. So I think it's called MIDI MG. Is that right? I think that's what it's called. Now, the reason I'm thinking of using this is you can get these little programmable MIDI devices, and instead of using it as a musical input, I thought I'd use it as like a fancy stream deck. Lots of programmable buttons, effectively. So I thought that would be interesting to look at in the future, but not something I'm currently doing, so it doesn't need to go on the critical path. Right, this one I thought I needed, but actually I'm now using Source Clone.
Thanks for the resub, oh my MNDY. Nix streams, let's go. Colon _ closing parenthesis.
Thanks very much, Mandy, that's very kind. Oh, I've got little cheering people stuck on the screen a bit long there. What was this one I was doing? Async source. So I'm not currently using this one, but it might be useful, but it's not essential for what I need to do. So let's stick that one in there. Yeah, well, if anyone's here for the Nix stuff, it's all going to be mostly Nix related for a while. Dipping into a couple of the other projects that I've got going on, you know, in the Debian and Ubuntu world. Oh, what was this one? I've already forgotten. Oh, yeah, Audio Pan. Not currently using that. I was, but I don't use it anymore. I went through a process of trying to sort of simplify my setup recently, so mostly because I wanted to go through this transition to NixOS, and I knew that if I had every plugin imaginable in my configuration, it would further delay that migration. So I consolidated my stream setup so that I have fewer plugins on the critical path, and this is another one that I did. Well, it's useful, but I've weaned myself off it a little bit, so it's not essential. This is good if you know what zebras are in cameras and things like that, and color histograms. This is what this is for OBS. So if you want to do color accurate calibrations, you can do all of that. It's helpful if you've got multiple cameras, like what I do, and get them producing the same color tone. So let's just have a look here. Oh, this stuff is working. Okay, good. I've got another screen up here that I can keep tabs on. Good stuff. Okay. King Egypt asked a very good question earlier on. I've just spotted it. Let me where is it? There it is. So King Egypt asked, do streaming platforms accept AV1 now? And how does it compare with NVENC's H.265? The only platform that accepts AV1 for streaming currently is YouTube. And that said, even though you can use AV1 for ingest, it will transcode that to VP9, I think. So, because YouTube transcodes everything, doesn't matter what you're doing, video uploads or streaming, everything gets transcoded. So consumers will still get VP9. But the advantage of AV1 is that you can stream with higher resolutions and much lower bit rates and have better quality feed. So technically, or not technically, Twitch recommends that the maximum bitrate is 6000 kbits. You can fudge that a little bit, which is what I do. I currently use 7600. That means that you can get a 1080p stream. This is what this is at 60 frames per second, and it's acceptable quality. It's certainly fine for this sort of thing. If you're game streaming, those constraints are difficult to work with without creating smeary, blurry stuff. YouTube gets around this with H.264 and H.265 by basically just having a massive bitrate that you can send to their ingest servers, and then they will step it down through transcoding. But using AV1, you can come down to bit rates as low as like 3000 kbits and do 1080p 60 just fine. So for platforms like Twitch, when they implement AV1 ingest, it will mean that actually stepping down to that 6000 kbits will be acceptable. And there are lots of devices out there now that can do AV1 decoding hardware. So not everything, not as widespread as H.264 and H.265, but certainly a way to stream and view without somebody having to pick up the royalties for H.264 licensing. So yeah, it's coming, and if you stream to YouTube, you can do it now. And this is one of the things I want to experiment with and learn, like what I've tinkered with, like MPEG encoding and video encoding for decades. My old website domain back in the day was all about MPEG 1 and MPEG 2 video encoding. That was like the whole thing it was dedicated to.
Thank you for the follow, J. Walter.
Hello, J. Walter. Thanks very much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. So, where were we? RTSP, async source, audio pan, color monitor. Aha, right. So now we're down to command source. I absolutely rely on this one. This does all sorts of stuff for me. And in fact, it's this plugin, which is why I had to move away from the snap command source. So this is basically a filter that you can apply to sources in OBS, and instead of like applying some audio or video effect, it will execute code. So I use it to as I move between some transitions. Like when I'm ending the stream, you'll hear the audio mix fade out. It handles like changing audio volumes and doing a whole bunch of stuff automatically as I move between scenes. It's extremely useful stuff. I could not do without it. And I suppose what you can see is there's a lot of these that I consider essential that are about automation. And I suppose that ties in a little bit with what Popey observed yesterday with my stream, which is we had the power cut. But then I think I was back streaming to the same stream within like 90 seconds. And the reason for that is I have automated absolutely everything imaginable in my OBS configuration, and also how I actually start OBS streaming going. And I suppose that speaks to why I have been talking about Nix for a long time, and I'm now finally, working with Nix and NixOS, because I value automation and reliability and reproducibility, because I hate doing the same things more than once. And so I suppose that like automation mindset kind of explains why most of these things here are about automating and repeating stuff. Yeah. So multi-source effect I'm not currently using. It's one I was using, or at least I was experimenting with, but I've temporarily worked around the need for, so that I don't have to package too much stuff all at once. So that can go in the nice to have column. And this, I hate having to click that edit button. I've got feedback for GitHub on this. Right. The mute filter I am using, and again, so this is one of those, again, a bit like the command source. I have this integrated with certain scenes, like when the stream is finishing up, it handles the muting of different sources through a filter, and it makes it really easy to do that without having to know how to mess about with pulse audio or pipewire sources directly, which is kind of neat. It's a nice abstraction. This I use everywhere. This is, and you'll see here there's another author here, Norihiro, who is another prolific OBS Studio plugin creator, and there are a bunch of their plugins that I find extremely useful. And text pthread it's an unusual name, but it's basically like a superset of the text Pango plugin that I used to use, and it supports right to left and Unicode and a whole bunch of like outline and insetting and various other effects and what have you, and emoji, which is obviously why I like it. But it's very nice. It's a high quality Linux sort of, you know, font renderer, so I use that a lot. So VK capture, I have got, this is a slightly longer story. So I don't require this one right now. It's extremely good because it's very low latency game capture capability, speaking directly to Vulkan, and also can speak to GL. And the reason this was required is that the shared memory, X-shared memory, and composite, the ways to do screen capture and window capture in OBS, the overhead was astonishing. And I say it was astonishing because this is fixed in what will become OBS Studio 29.1, which is currently in beta. And the fixes for that can reduce that latency by up to 200%. And I've cherry picked that as a patch, which is currently in my 29.02 builds of OBS Studio. So yeah, I don't require the acceleration this provides anymore. Right then. Now, this one I absolutely do need. So this is interesting. So you may know that since OBS Studio, was it 28? They integrated WebSocket 5. But I still have things that can only speak WebSocket 4. So I need the compatibility version of the WebSocket, and it's an absolute requirement. I cannot do anything here without this backwards compatibility version of the WebSockets. Everything that I issue from my Stream Deck on Linux uses WebSocket 4 currently, for example. That's true if you were using Boatswain, which is that GNOME Stream Deck client that can only talk WebSocket 4, and that's because there's a couple of features of WebSocket 4 that aren't in version 5 spec yet that Boatswain uses. And similarly, the way that I use things, I've got a hard requirement on WebSocket 4. So my OBS runs 2 WebSocket instances, one for WebSocket 5, one for WebSocket 4. And different things talk to different sockets. OBS RGB filter levels. And this is a really old plugin that I spent some time wrangling with and coercing to build from source again. And I require. It is absolutely essential for a couple of the effects that I use, and also a bit like what I said earlier, for making sure that different cameras have color tone which is to the human eye, to the casual observer, the same. Right then, so right, okay, I will get into that. I will answer that question. So TCAS just asked the following, because there are 2 parts to this answer here. So TCAS asks, what Stream Deck configuration software do you use? So I will show you what I am currently using. I am currently using helps if you spell that correctly. There we go. So let's just go to the top level project. I am using Stream Deck Unix currently, which is a daemon written in Go and a UI. So if I do this and drag this down, drag this. Oh, it's in the right place, is it? Yes. There we go. Sorry, I've got multiple screens, some of which are virtual. Right then, so this is the Stream Deck Unix configuration tool, and you're currently looking at the buttons that I have available on my Stream Deck in front of me here. So if I do this, you can see there is my Stream Deck. And if we come back here, you're looking at the configuration of the deck's layout that it's on. And it's got some basic tech support. So if I choose this button, you can see you have to do slightly funky things with like how the like there's multiple carriage returns in order to get the base down here, and changing the font size. And then under the key press configuration, I'm calling out to command line utility OBS CLI, which is used in WebSocket 4, and that does the scene change to this scene that I'm oh no, it does this scene change. If I push the button, that's what it does. So this is how I do things. So I have a bunch of scenes configured in this, and in my opinion this is better than the Python Stream Deck UI thing that I was using previously, and a lot of people is actually what they're using. I don't rate it. It's a bit of a mess, that project. But this isn't getting much attention either anymore. I think it's basically a dead project. So I'm going to be transitioning to this project in the very near future, called Deckmaster. Now, the project that I've just shown you, Stream Deck Unix, actually forks a number of these components here to build their project. So Deckmaster has a bunch of capability. You can get a deb for it in here, I think, and various other packages. So it's available as debs and RPMs and what have you. And also, I think, oh no, they don't actually. Oh yeah, maybe they do. Here we go. They've got the tarballs that builds and all the rest of it. So this works in a similar way, except there's no UI to configure it, which I don't see as a downside, because actually using a UI to configure the Stream Deck, once you've started to configure a couple of the buttons, you just want to copy and paste them really quickly, and doing that in the UI is a bit cumbersome. So this uses a text-based configuration format. Here's some examples. But it has some integrations to talk over dbus and talk to M3 and audio, and it's Linux first. So I'm going to be moving to this because it seems like a very elegant way to create your configurations for different models of Stream Deck. and be able to copy and paste, you know, buttons that have similar functionality very quickly. So I will be moving to this fairly soon, in the next few weeks or so, and leaving Stream Deck Unix behind. So this is what I will be using soon. But I did find another project the other day. I think it's called Stream Ducky. I haven't tested this one. Or is it just called Stream Duck? Oh, I spelled it wrong. Here we go. There's this, which I haven't tried. And again, it's a collection of stuff. And it has a UI and like the back-end daemon. And the UI looks like this. And you can configure it on a per device basis and configure your capabilities. And, you know, I have not looked at it in any great detail, but I found it the other day, and it looks interesting. So you may want to give that one a try. It depends how much you value having graphical user interfaces to configure the thing. So those are the three that I think are most interesting at the moment. I'd be interested if anyone finds any others that are out there that are Linux related Stream Deck options. I would be interested to hear more. But what's interesting about Deckmaster is this developer Muesli. They are also the developer of can't find it from there. Developer of a bunch of stuff, including the OBS CLI that I use. And what they're planning on doing is integrating this OBS CLI capability directly into Deckmaster. So Deckmaster will be able to natively speak WebSocket stuff. And when that lands, I think that will make this a epic bit of software. So there you go. There's my opinions about Stream Deck stuff on Linux. Stream Duck and Deckmaster, I think, look very interesting. Stream Deck Unix I've been very happy with. It's just it hasn't seen any updates for over a year now. Yannick and I have both contributed stuff to it over the time we've been using it, but it hasn't seen much active use recently. Right then, RGB levels we did. Waveform. Copy. This is absolutely... oh, let's go to the right one. No, it is the right one. I'm just in the wrong tab. There we go. This is one that I use. So you will have, some of you will have seen, hopefully, the animations as the stream, as we're going through that sort of 5-minute the stream is about to happen. You'll have seen the audio waveforms, and also are they audio? Oh no, they're busted at the moment. Okay. Yes, I know why now as well. I usually have audio waveforms in here for my voice, which I realise I've broken earlier, and I use the waveform project plugin for that stuff. It's just a nice little audio waveform animation tool. Right, scene switcher. This is another automation tool that I simply cannot do without. It is fantastic. This is, the full name is the advanced scene switcher. Oh, maybe that's the scene switcher I found earlier on when I was looking for stuff. I don't know. I will drag this onto the screen in a moment, because if you're using OBS, you really want to see what this can do for you. I used to use this a lot back in the day, and then switched away from it, and then recently really went to town bringing it back in again. Oops. So if we bring up here, there we go. This is what my running OBS scene switcher looks like. And some of the things that the scene switcher is responsible for is the very first time the OBS instance starts, it runs this configure macro, and it basically looks at the host name of each of the machines I stream from and then runs through a bunch of stuff to basically configure the OBS instance for the machine, for the location I'm streaming from, because I stream from home sometimes and I stream from here sometimes. And this switches around the configuration because, like, this overhead camera needs inverting at home and doesn't need inverting here, and it takes care of all of that. And at home my camera's off center and it handles all of the shunting around of the various things. So it's extremely useful to have it's a bit idiosyncratic. I stream from two places on two different computers, and this manages those transitions. But like the drop game at the beginning of the thing, this is responsible for running the configuration script, simple shell script, and that simple shell script basically says what's the time of year, what drop game theme should we be using. So at the moment, as we're approaching Easter, it's using the Easter theme, but it also does things like it uses the retro theme if I stream on the 8th or the 16th of the month. So it uses a different theme, and sometimes at night it will use a dark theme if I'm streaming in the evening, and various other things. So again, it's another bit of automation. So I use this all over, and you can see here this Spotify thing is pulsing frequently. So every couple of seconds that's doing a dbus query to Spotify that's playing the music, which is where you'll see, I've just hovered over it, but up here you'll see the track changes happen, and that's what's integrating there. And Deck API every minute is polling the Twitch API to fill out how many subscribers, followers and viewers there are. So, you know, this is doing all manner of stuff. Hello, Big Pod.
Pod 98.
How the devil are you? Long time no speak. I was chatting to Pete yesterday. I'll have to catch up with you later. I hear there's been some changes for you just recently. I'll have a chat with you later and find out what's been going on. Thanks for stopping by. Right, so there we go. So that one is absolutely critical. It's it's terrific piece of software. Yeah, glad to hear it, Big Pod. I'll catch up with you in a little bit, and we can have a chat. I used to work with Big Pod. So this StreamFX, it has been a staple of my sort of streaming stuff, and it still is, but I am weaning myself off it. As I said earlier, it's sort of development is stagnating slightly, and it's falling a long way behind where OBS is. Now, what it has been really good for me is it exposed advanced NVENC encoding filtering. Gosh, my audio transmitter is playing up. And I think I can show what that looks like as well. Let's try this. I think I can at least show this. Let's see. This is where I'm doing things that is going to invoke a stream fail. So let's just try and bring this down. So these are my settings for my... Why is that? Oh, it doesn't like doing this, does it? I'm going to stop doing this. This is a bad idea. Oh, hang on. Where's the whole screen gone grey? Oh, I see. Yeah. So I brought up the settings, and it doesn't want to play nicely. So I can't... Can I expose? Yeah, there we go. Here we go. We'll take a quick look at this. So I've busted it, haven't I? No, I haven't, but I'm going to stop doing that. I'm not going to tempt fate. Anyway, long story short, it exposes all of the tunables for NVENC so that you can really make the most of the bitrate that's available to you. And I love it for that. And it's also got a really great blur filter, which again I use so this colorway gradient in the background here. I use the gradient filter to make the colorway, but then I use the blur filter to actually, you know, make it look attractive. So Stream Effects is something that I've used a lot. Some of the capabilities of Stream Effects are now out into discrete plugins, which I'm making use of. But I still use the advanced NVENC encoder, but I'm going to switch over to VA API. But for now, I need it. But I think I will drop my dependency on it over time. So at the end of all of that, how many have we got here? So I've got 22 must-have plugins. Huh. Okay. That's quite good to know. And I've got 25 that are in the nice-to-have pile. So now what I need to do is start figuring out which of these, what order to sort of, you know, do them in. I know I need all of these, and obviously like OBS itself needs to be up here at the very top. So what we'll do now is there's a few others that are in my list of things I may include at some future date, but that's everything that's currently in use. In the README of the portable builds for Ubuntu, everything's documented here, but then down the bottom I've got these are some interesting ones I might be interested in the future. I'm not going to include those for now because they're just reminders that I want to go and look at those. So let's think about this. I now need to go and look, basically do what Takov was suggesting earlier, is if we go to NixOS and we do a search here, we'll go to the unstable packages and we'll search for OBS, and we'll find, I don't know what that is that keeps popping up. So OBS Studio plugins. So somebody has taken care of the NDI plugin, and somebody has done the VA API plugin, which is good. So that one, and we've also got OBS Studio itself. So what we'll do is, my plan is to package these things in Nix packages first, and once everything's in Nix packages, then define everything in this flake for this project. So although OBS Studio 29.0.2 is in Nix packages, I'm going to move this to Nix packages because essentially that is going to get updated. And we know that move transition is currently in Nix packages. So let's go back to here. NDI wasn't in my list, so I'm not interested in packaging that myself, but OBS VA API I'm going to want. I don't need to rattle that round, do I? So let's move that over into VA API is in Nix packages. And so this is an interesting example because this NVFBC is no longer compatible with OBS Studio because in OBS Studio 28 the GLX support was removed, and this plugin requires GLX, so that's a curiosity that should probably get dropped. And this Hyperion I didn't know much about, but I believe it integrates with smart light bulbs, you know, hue lights and various other things. And I've written my own integrations for that using a bunch of like Node modules and Go libraries. But it would be nice if I could integrate that directly in OBS, so I may be interested in looking at that. OBS VK Capture, which was in our list, is already in Nix packages, so we can move that one over. wherever it is. Oh, it was in the nice to have pile, wasn't it? I need to find another way to mark these in some way, because maybe I need to say so it's not like Trello where you can like add a tag to it. Okay, I'm just going to put nice to have. Maybe I need a prefix here, so let's cancel that. Let's edit this and we'll prefix this with nice. I'll have to go through and do this for each of them now, I suppose. Not right now, but there we go. That's a nice to have. Maybe I'll just put nice in front of the ones that are nice to have. And I'm doing this all in the browser now. So, right, so TCAS says Hyperion is awesome if you get it working. Good to know. I didn't realize what it was. When I saw Hyperion, I was like, why has OBS got spreadsheet integrations? Because that's what I remember from Hyperion. It's this sort of database backend for Excel spreadsheets or something. OBS GStreamer. Okay, that was in our must-haves, I believe. So we'll bring that one over into the nixpkgs list. There it is. Stick it there. I think that order is probably correct. And anything else? So input overlay is a great plugin, not one that I use, although it could be interesting to use. You can create overlays for your controllers. So if you're like a speed runner, you can do all of your input overlays and what have you. Multi-RTMP, I know what it is. I don't understand how it's supposed to work. Here we go. Source record. Excellent. So this is a good example because this is one of Xeldro's plugins. So this is another example of one that is going to build using a common pattern. I keep switching this and I don't need to. Right, so source record was in my essentials list. There it is. And that is in nixpkgs. We'll put that there. That's about the right order, I think. Maybe what I'll do is just... What did I manage to... Why did that disconnect itself? There we go. Right then. What else do we have? Live split. I don't know what that service is. Looking Glass is obviously very cool. If you've doing that whole running Windows in a VM, passing through a GPU using Looking Glass, you can do game capture of the Windows VM, which is pretty cool. So move transition, we know that that's on the essentials list, so let's move that one into the it's in nixpkgs. And again, this is super high up the where is it? Oh, I've already moved it over. Yeah, it's already there. Okay, good. And then here's the advanced scene switcher, which I was waxing lyrical about earlier. So that's great. That's already over. But I can't actually see it now. Not source switcher, scene switcher. There it is. So I'm going to put that. It's really there because it's more important than move transition because it makes stuff work at boot time. And here's pipe wire audio capture, which I am currently using. So that can come over as already in nixpkgs. And I'll put that here. Oh, I've spelt it wrong. Let's correct that while we're here. Okay. Okay. And I don't think we're going to see anything now. We're just going to see a load of Haskell stuff. I don't think we'll see any OBS Studio from this point onwards. So we'll just do a tighter search for OBS Studio. Ah, right, this is kind of cool as well for running on Wayland. Not something that I need right now, but it might be something I want in the future. Did we move the VA API over? I think we did. Droid Cam I don't use, so I do the camera integration using Video Ninja, but it's good that that's available. Okay, we're good. Advanced scene switcher, there we go. So that's everything. Right, okay. Why is this? What is this? This thing keeps telling me that there's something there. I don't even know what that's referring to. I can't find it in anything. Right. Let's review what we've got. So 8 of these are in Nix packages. So these would be the first choices to stick in the flake. But actually, where the work needs to start, because although I want my flake, I can work with everything going into Nix packages initially. So I think what we'll do now is we'll now work out what's essential here. The WebSocket thing definitely needs to be at the top. Gradient, I use loads. The shader filters, not as important, so they can go towards the bottom. Stream effects is quite important to me at the moment, annoyingly, so we're gonna have to yeah, it's gonna have to be up there with that one. The vintage filter, it should be easy to package, I hope. Yeah, that one should be easy to package. Scale to sound, 3D effect is not as vital, so that can go there. Waveform needs to go up here with scale to sound, because that's all used in the intro stuff. Source clone, that needs to go near the top. I can't function without that, so that needs to go up there. RGB levels, more important than that. Key thread, command source, source switcher. I can't remember what this source switcher is. I'm going to move it down the bottom here because I don't think I'm going to have to double check whether I'm really using that one. So WebSocket, we totally need that. Gradient, stream effects, vintage filter. Oh, transition table, that needs to come higher up. So that needs to be there. RGB text p thread is probably that important. Okay, I think that is a fairly fair representation of where things need to be. Audio mute, command source, that feels right. Scale to sound, those two I'm using together. That I'm using everywhere. It's probably needs to come up here, like so. Okay, that's probably what we're looking at. So that's the initial work order. Is I will start in a stream here soon, working through these plugins and bringing them to Nix packages to join these ones. So as I do that, we'll move those over here and we'll create issues out of these. So Takov, what I need you to do is let me know which of I'll add you in here as a team member so you can wrangle some of this, because I know that you're interested in working on some of these, and you can then elect the ones that you're interested in looking at. And what I've done in the past to the one time I've contributed to Nix packages is I've forked Nix packages and made that unstable branch of my fork, and I integrated that into my flake so that I could build the branch of the package I was working on and integrate it into a local machine for testing. It was quite an easy workflow. That was a recommendation from one of my colleagues as to how to sort of get started. And there's a tool called Nix Review or Nix Packages Review. Let's look it up. I think it's Nix Packages Review. Yeah, here it is. And here's the homepage for it. And this is a way that you can validate like your PR for changes that you want to make to Nix packages. So I recommend learning about this. I've not used it yet, but I am told this is an essential tool in the process, which I will be using. So I think that's everything I need to plan out for now. I think I know which way is up and what I need to work on. Right then, I'll catch up with you in Discord, Takov, so we can figure out how we're going to plug away at all of that. Right, let's go and have a look up here. Ooh, perfect. Perfect. Right then. I am going to, so I mentioned earlier on that Andy Lippy is one of the plugin authors who has got a brand new plugin out that I am interested in, and also messaged them on their YouTube video for their new plugin to say because they said they think it should work on Linux, and I validated that for them. So we will go and raid Andy's channel. So with that, all that remains is to say thank you all for coming. I will be back next Wednesday, probably. No, next Thursday, because of the breaks and what have you. So I shall see you then. Thank you all for coming, and join the Discord, wimpysworld.io/Discord, if you want to chat about these projects and get involved. But with that, we are going to go raiding and go and visit Andy Lippy. So, bye for now. See you soon.